Okay, hey guys, it's Alex Guerra, and today we have Maria, special guest. I know there are some people who are joining right now, so I'll give some time for people can join in that stream. It's a live stream. Today is what is that today? Today is
Last day of
August
summer.
31st. Yeah, end of summer, and we decided to make that amazing stream. And I know as well, because a lot of people are looking for job nowadays in
Yes.
IT and QA specifically, and that's why I invited Maria. Today we're gonna talk about tips and tricks for getting
Yes.
a job in IT, specifically QA, quality assurance, software tester, and in the YouTube. We have two streams in the YouTube and in Instagram. So people from the YouTube can ask questions during that live stream. And people from Instagram can do the same from the Instagram. I'm looking at both screens over here. So don't worry if I don't answer you right away, but feel free to give any comment there. And I see people. Sasha joins right now. She's our student from Instagram. There are people in the YouTube. So cool, Maria. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for inviting me. Looking forward to chat.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of content with my face in the Instagram and YouTube. Going to be way more soon. Starting from September, going to be like a lot of content. But I want to introduce Maria. Maria is a part of the Spin
Hi
Career
guys.
now, and she helps a lot for our students. How she helps, we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to give a
Yes.
lot of helpful content.
Yes.
So cool. Maria, tell about
Sure.
tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay. So I have a combination. I think it's not a coincidence that we have a partnership in our school because at the moment I am a senior QA in a healthcare startup. But prior to my career and prior to graduating from Spin Career, I was working for a while as a technical recruiter in IT for a staffing firm. It was a company K Force, the top type five in the country. And I think knowing from the hiring team and recruiter perspective what exactly they're looking for when they are discussing the candidates, when they debriefing them, when they interviewing, and why they making decision towards some people with maybe the beginner experience or who just graduated from the boot camp versus somebody who've been in the industry for a while. And I think collectively this experience and secrets are really helpful to find a job and give the best practical advice for the people who are graduating.
Excellent, excellent. So tell me, Maria, you were working as a recruiter in the past.
Correct.
Tell me a little
Yes.
more about that recruiter, how long that was, and how was it? You know, I never worked as a recruiter. I talked a lot to a lot of recruiters in my life, but never like actually had any kind of experience doing that job. So what was that like?
Thank you. So prior to start working as a recruiter at Capers, I was working in Tesla, and I already was exposed to technology, and I started learning that there is, potentially a career path through bootcamp where I can study and get the real experience examples and practical skills. But I always had this hesitation about applying and how we are being evaluated. I don't want to say judged, evaluated by recruiters. So a friend of mine who was teaching me originally at Tesla reached out of the blue, invited me maybe to review this option to become a recruiter. I already knew that I wanted to be in IT and technology, but I felt
Mhm.
like me making a shift into recruitment space I will be able to learn the fundamentals of how to present yourself, how to make the resume, what to
Mhm.
ask in interview, and how to navigate the job search. And it's been an interesting experience, definitely fundamental in changing my perspective. Before, I did not realize that there was a difference between recruiter from the staffing agency versus HR recruiter or talent acquisition. I didn't realize how much time and when you respond to the interview request and when do you schedule it. When do you apply? What day of the week you should apply versus when just starting browsing the positions. That little bits of information were really crucial when I started looking for a job because I knew the inside. It was almost like a roadmap when I knew on what day recruiter would be posting the position, when they're sourcing, when they scheduling the interviews, and when negotiating the offers. And I think now knowing that practical piece and also being promoted in my current job where I'm interviewing the candidates who are applying for QA and IT roles, I think that combination helps to look at the situation from perspective of the recruiter and from the hiring team. Thank you.
That's cool. That's cool. Maria, it's might be a bit confusion for people who watching us
Sure.
because they don't know much about the story, what's going on, what is your background. So just give them a like a high level info. So Maria used to work as a recruiter. Then
Yes,
she used to be our student, and
correct.
then she got very short. She got like two job offers, right? If I
Yes,
remember,
correct.
and you were
Actually,
selecting
and
one
then
of them.
two at the same time, and then the third one came, I think, about a couple of weeks after from the government, but they took forever to get back to me. So, I
So
was gone for
Maria
them.
is like excellent example of that everything is possible. And besides having that huge result, she became like a senior within very short amount of time.
Months. Yeah.
And while she was, thinking about choosing the best job offer, she also been helping the students from our group to get their job as well, so encouraging them, giving some additional support. I really appreciate Maria, and then we end up being like a very good friends and become working together in the same team in the same company, Spin Career. So I'm really
Right.
glad you're in a part of the team now.
Thank you.
So we started from the recruitment, your background, right, that you did before. What was the company for
A
working?
course.
A
A
course.
course.
Okay, and that it was it an IT or not?
IT and technical recruiter. Correct.
Oh
So
wow!
I
So
started, I applied to become a technical recruiter, but they liked the conversation. And I first month was doing the job as account manager, which was also interesting experience, understanding how to connect with the high level managers as a chief
mhm,
technology officer or VP of product. And through that career, I started placing the candidates because I already had a little bit of understanding and the network. And I kind of set myself a priority that I want to observe and go as many meetings with the managers, with the candidates, so I can learn the best practices, the feedback, how people are being promoted or evaluated, and then utilize in my career.
nice, nice. I think it's very. I think for people who is in the in on the live streaming, who gonna watch the recording of that stream, and gonna be very very important to learn more about the other side of the recruitment job, because there are, I think most of the like students who just especially for the beginners who just completed the program or boot camp, any kind of boot camp, they would start having two biggest issues, problems. First, they don't have interview.
Hmm.
Second, if they do have interview, then they end up not getting the
The job.
the job offer. So they failed the interview at the very beginning after recruiter interview. So the recruiter just doesn't show up after that first round, or they fail the technical interview, which always like way better. It means for me the other problems disappear. So if that's a problem with
Yes.
a technical interview, that's fine. It's a matter of just a knowledge. But if most of the students beginners they get in those two first issues. So I think it would be really, really helpful for the students or for the beginners today who are just thinking about getting an AT to learn about those two things, how to overcome those issues. So let's continue just talking. Let's continue just talking. But I think we will get back to that two problems, and
Mhm.
let's try to maybe cover these two problems completely, so the students kind of have a better idea of how to manage those issues and what can be bootcamp, how the bootcamp can be helpful with
Thank you,
that.
Alex.
Right? So I already asked you about the recruitment background. I think everybody already heard that Maria is excellent professional. Now she works in a spin career, helping people getting a job in AT. So I know I have like a little plan. We just discussed with Maria about a little plan. Let's just try to follow this plan. And you
Sure.
guys, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. I have like chats opened. I have actually a comment in the YouTube like Maria is the best. So Maria, you're the best.
Thank you, guys. Well,
Um,
thank you. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate
yeah.
you. I think it's going to be the time to spill some tea and share some secrets. One thing that people need to understand, the recruiters, they want to help, they want to hire. And when the candidate, especially just graduating from the boot camp, they feel some tension or intimidation from the recruiter, they think that being judged or evaluated, and it's not true. It's the job for the recruiter to find a quality candidate, to qualify this candidate, and to help the candidate to get the job. So one thing is the mindset that people need to realize. We need to not just looking from the job search from experience of our neighbors or our network or our spouses, friends. We need to understand the hiring process from the perspective of the hiring team and the recruiter. First of all, they want to help you. They want to hire you. If you ask the right questions of what drives the need for this position, is it an additional headcount or is it a backfill? The recruiter will be explaining to you important pieces of information that then you or any other candidate can utilize in the job search. The second part is when it's kind of like expectations. And when we understand the expectations that are being set by the recruiter, it's easy to meet them. It's like if you go into Disney, you expect the park and amusement is being open, but then when you arrive and some rides are closed or the park shut down on its own, I don't know, there is COVID, you would be disappointed, right? You had high expectations. Same thing with the recruiters and the hiring managers. They inviting us to the interview, not because they want to catch us in a lie or in incompetency. They want to give us a chance because in the past, they've been on our side. They've been in our shoes and they know that it's not easy to go through the job search. But with recruiters, maybe not disclosing sometimes that our resume, our LinkedIn, and our presentation is the most important tools. Like I give an analogy, imagine your resume as a poster for a new movie. Then you go on a LinkedIn and it's like a trailer and you get even more excited. You want to watch it. And then when you being invited for the interview, it's like the full movie that they're trying to understand and rate. And when we are preparing for the interview, we need to again look not from the perspective of the people who've been in our shoes, but looking from the perspective like if we have a problem in our teeth hurts, we go to the dentist, right? We don't go to a friend of mine who went to a dentist. So the same thing, we need to go to professionals. And one thing I think that sets apart our team here at Spin Clear and what we do, that it's not just we providing the steps and the tools, right? The practical internship, the answers and questions, the resume example, but we breaking down to a science because getting a job, it's not the luck. It's not an economy. It's not, oh, my English is not good, or I don't know, maybe somebody else was better and more experienced. No. People want to hire people who they are related to. Like if the hiring manager here's the story about my time when I don't know overcoming objections or I had a difficult situation with developer, they want to relate to me because they portraying themselves in my
Mhm.
situation. And if I give them the story and answer in the form of situation, task, action, and result, and I can explain it as a story, that hiring manager can come back to their team and be like, you know what? Maria was a really interested candidate. She had such situation that happened to her. Guys, like we have that happening all the time here. We need somebody like her because they can relate to it. So that's the main thing. People do not hire the hiring managers. They do not need somebody who has the most experience because
Mhm.
sometimes they even have a saying, you cannot teach the old dog the new tricks. They want to hire
Correct.
somebody who wants the job, who is motivated, interested, and showing the genuine, compassionate, approach. Do you want me
I
to dive
very agree.
into any part?
No, even for spin career, when we are getting someone new in for our team, I always can tell, not right away though, but eventually I see that if that's the person who is like given the ideas, suggestions, ready to, spend like a lot of time just chatting in the chat, asking and giving some better things, trying to improve just for free, not like counting the hours or something like that, just being excited about doing this job. That's one type of candidate, or one type of kind of person who can do the job, and another person who can like do the job but then have no time, doesn't answer right away. So it's really hard to understand that by doing the interview, and that's why the interviews sometimes could be a little crazy.
Better. Yeah.
And recruiter's job, initial job, is to filter out the candidates who are not good kind of candidates. But Maria, I heard you said, I'm trying to catch up the like statements here. So you give a lot of great info, and I'm trying to organize that. So first thing, and you have to correct me. So I'll try to do that first. So the statement number one, you said you need to, as a candidate, you want to maybe even ask recruiter about the expectations, right?
Correct. Ask not just question. When people hear, "Oh, I need to ask the hiring team or recruiter questions," it's not just a question to ask. You need to use those questions as the tools to help yourself. What drives the need for this job? Is it a backfill? If it's a backfill, they fired somebody or somebody left on maternity leave, they are hurting. The ball is in your corner. You need to be quick and prompt in negotiation in the interview scheduling. If it's a backfill, maybe they will be a little bit slow to act, but you need to show that you are looking for a job to stay for a really long period of time. You're looking for a team where you can grow. So you need to tailor your responses based on the needs of the team. And recruiter will be more than happy to tell you this information, but they don't know what you need. So that's why ask the questions about the need, about the format of the interview. Is it a technical interview? Is it a combination of soft and hard skills? Who am I going to be speaking with? Can you please share me the names or LinkedIn profiles? What the format? How many steps are in the process? By knowing that, you will understand about different opportunities and where to prioritize.
Hey, Maria, it sounds like a lot of questions from the
Yes.
candidate. Is it okay to ask a lot of questions to
Mhm.
recruiters, or there should be
It
some?
is. It should be a dialogue. Nobody likes this tension when it's a monologue and you just speaking and recruiter is nodding and making us. It has to be with ease, right? It has to be natural. Recruiters are just people just as us. So when we are making them comfortable and we're asking questions, we're showing our genuine interest, because the most important thing to acknowledge and announce, I am intentional in my job search. I'm not
Mhm,
just looking for a job to make a living and move on. It's a huge part of my life, right? And I want to ask you a question, because you're not asking about benefits. You're not asking the superficial questions,
mhm,
transactional questions. You're asking the value based question, right? That's gonna understand recruiter to know you better, what you're looking for, and for you to prepare when you are in the interview process.
mhm. And I also I remember at the time, like long time ago, when I was looking for a job, I was also learning a lot, and maybe like years ago, and I found one of the video. There was no reels that time, but there was like a short video. Uh,
We learned a lot from that, so okay.
Yeah, yeah. And the video, the person was explaining. So the very important thing you have to understand, and I'm gonna, keep repeating that for our students as well, is that, and I want to hear your, if you agree or disagree or anything additional, feel free to add. So the idea was the guy was saying that first of all, you have to understand that you're gonna be like working with the company. That company, first of all, you have to understand both sides, not just yours. You don't yeah, if you come to the interview explaining like what you request and what you expect, and it's all about you. No, it's not about you. It's about
Mhm.
company who is investing a lot of money in you, in your skill, and you who at the same time is thinking about if that's the good fit for you. So the best case scenario is when that both size is ideal fit. If one of the
Mhm.
sides is not working, then it's not gonna work. So if the
Interviews
company,
both parties, right? Mm-hmm.
yeah, so you have to understand, like, you from your angle, you have to sell them, provide the solution to the company, explain them what they
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
give give the idea, not like just directly say I'm gonna like I don't know, save a lot of money by testing. No, it's like a
You can
common
say that, but it depends on how you will form it. You actually brought a really important point. Everybody wants to know what's in there for them, right?
Mhm.
Because it's the company who's inviting us to the interview. Even though, yes, it's interview for both parties, but a big mistake that a lot of students or new professionals do when they answer the questions, they explain about themselves.
Mhm.
I want to work here because
Yeah.
I like your company, why, and so on. I did in my the main thing the company hear about you, but they don't hear what's
Mhm.
in there for themselves. And when we respond to the questions, almost any questions that we're being asked, we have to paint the picture what's in there for them. To open an additional headcount, most of the big companies have to generate 500,000 revenue per headcount. When you hear a lot of times when people saying, "Oh, I need to have a budget," so that
Mhm.
budget is being formulated when the company is moving on to a next level. For each headcount, an average corporation in the United States have to have 500,000 in revenue in order to open an additional position. So when we are coming on board, we need to understand the business logic that it's an investment to onboard somebody, to interview, to train the persons, and to share the knowledge that the company has. So when
Mhm.
we are looking at the job search from business owner perspective, we understand that the person who is hiring or the company, they're taking the risk on us.
It's a
Believe it or
it's
not,
amazing comment.
yeah,
It's amazing. Like what you just said. I knew about that. Like, but I'm not sure if that's for all companies working that. But
not
it's ideal.
statistics
I think.
for
But
corporations. The
yeah,
had
but
one
still,
10.
can you imagine you have to make an additional $500,000 per year
Yes,
so that you can hire another QA for the company?
correct.
How big is the investment? And
Mhm,
of course, the hiring manager gets like a lot of, or decision maker for that
mhm,
position actually has like a responsibility, right? Of
mhm.
course, the person can be fired like after some period of time, but if it's like a full-time position, it has to be like a really kind of evidences on the whole thing have to happen in order to fire that employee. So the company is actually, especially the company in California, has so many regulations for getting person fired, and
And
so
don't forget,
they
they
making
want to
that.
look
Mhm.
better, right? So one side is the company and the budget and investments, but another side, the manager will be judged by his decision-making ability based on the performance of the person that he or she will be bringing. So that's another factor, not just to make somebody like you, but we need to paint the pictures how effective we are. Just saying that I am adaptable, quick learner, anyone can say it. But bringing the example that in the past I was working in hospitality and automotive industry, but I combined the best skills where I'm able to quickly grasp the new tools and technology and
Mhm.
apply it in the quality assurance because I understand how frustrating it can be for the end user when the amazing tool and high level technology is
Mhm.
not working as expected. And when
Right.
we explain like that to a hiring manager that, hey, I have my transferable skills, I have something to bring to the table in addition to the new tools that I've learned. And when I'm going to be testing, I'm not going to be just checking off the task and moving on. I'm going to be thinking in my mind, right, about the angle for the end user and the company benefit. I'm going to be testing and trying to make it better for the next clients or our users that are going to be utilizing this. Of course,
Right.
that's going to be a completely different approach.
So the trick is actually like we're talking about the way you kind of demonstrate your skills and sell your skills during the interview by showing to the hiring manager or recruiter or the team from the other side of the interview that you're gonna be able to help them to to do the results, which is higher quality for their product and no issues whenever they go live with a new version. So that's one side. However, there is another side. At the same time, you kind of have to kind of ask good questions, showing that to the team or to this other side, whoever gonna interview you, that you're not looking for kind of like any job. because you're
Mm-hmm.
also picking up the company that you're going to stay for a long period of time. That's why those
Correct.
questions have to be. You cannot like finish the interview silence without like questions. You
Yes.
want to show that you're serious about that company. Of course, maybe that's shouldn't be like right after the first interview when you maybe when it wasn't perfect. But even after that, it's your practice. Do your questions, ask your questions.
Yes.
If you don't know what to ask, reach out to the instructor and ask what can I ask, or to Maria in that case.
Correct.
So check on what kind of questions you can ask. Don't just feel like, okay, I don't have questions. No, you just have to show the interest and ask additional things, like, because even our students, spin career been there already more than 3 years. And our students, they're already like some students staying in the company more than 3 years as well. After the first group finished, there are students who still work in the same company, not moving to another companies, which is like a long commitment. Could be a long commitment. And other students, they move from one company to another company, but at the same time, students don't have to move. They can grow inside the company. So
I
keep
agree.
that in mind.
You know what was
um,
the discovery for me? I like that you brought the point of the questions. I think I was unconventional recruiter because deep inside I was rooting for the candidates and I was taking extra step by helping to create a right resume, by explaining to them what they should ask, by doing the interview prep. And I remember as of right now, I had one developer applying for the job. Amazing approach. Knew exactly what to say, the good answers, presentable, professional looking, and they passed on him. They didn't hire. I felt so emotional and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask because I need some validation, I need some answers. And the biggest feedback was that this person did not ask any questions. I'm like, you kidding me? He answered everything. He had the appearance, the examples on GitHub. He answered everything correctly, and you passed on him and you hired somebody else with different experience and even less experience at the other party. And the answer from the hiring manager was really deep. Um, Pretty much that person was with the company for over 20 years. And he was saying that for him, the decision to find a job, get married, go to college, I don't know, have a child, or big, like buy a house in different country, whatever, big decision making process has to have some questions. And if this person willing to spend 40 hours a week without even digging a little bit deeper, it's not that person that's going to be asking a lot of questions as well on the job and trying to dig a little bit deeper in his work. And
mhm.
even though the other person that they decided to proceed with had less experience, that person was genuinely interested and was asking a lot, not in the end, but during the entire interview, almost every other question, the response to the question. He was completing and giving them the pulling up question. How are you doing at your project? What about your team? What is the best practices in your team? So they felt instantly connected, that there was a
Mhm.
conversation and they show like this person showed the interest.
Yeah, I think beginners, when they start looking for the job, they do realize at some point that there are other candidates, and they got and the team, or like recruiter, the hiring manager, they getting the candidates kind of compared, and and asking, like, eventually they could ask, like, okay, so how was the candidate A and how was the candidate B today? And that's what actually happened when I worked like as a QA manager. And I did a lot of interviews, and the manager, like developers manager, who is actually like project manager, who actually makes the decision, he's asking for the feedback. Whoever did the interview, they asking for the feedback. How was this candidate? And I say, like, well, this candidate is way better than the previous one. But the very first one, I remember he was a team player. He was like really cool. Even though the technical level is not that high, I would prefer that person. Yeah,
Mhm.
this one is could be like even overqualified, or it depends what the role gonna be for the candidate. Is that the role gonna be like a person who gonna build everything from scratch? Of course, the expectations for the technical level gonna be like a huge. However, that's gonna be like a replacement for the person who was like not the best team player. That could be a very high percentage that they would like close their eyes on a technical level and would expect to have a person who will smile during the interview, who will like, just put a nice smile
Relatable. Yes.
be like a nice during the interview. That could be
Yes.
like a very game changer. Some like it, that's what is happening very often, and people getting nervous during the interview, forget about the smile, forget about they are real people on the
Yes.
other side who like have family, kids, and watching comedies and all this, having just regular life.
I
So
know.
that's a thing. But Maria, I wanted
Mhm.
to ask you a question. What do you think? Can person just by learning from maybe even YouTube or completing
Okay.
some course that has no doesn't have instructor or person to ask,
Mhm.
has no friends in IT, would it possible, in your opinion, to be able to find a job and to complete the interview successfully? What would it take for that person to get a goal, to get the first job in IT?
Well, I think it depends on what is the important part for this person. It's a vague question, and I'm going to tell you the example that easy to understand for everyone. If you want to lose weight or be in a better shape, you can watch YouTube, right? There is plenty of content and there is some helpful information that you can follow. But what is going to be faster and more effective to go through like a boot camp or CrossFit, to work out in the group, or Orange Theory, where you have a trainer that checking in on you, that is holding you accountable. They already broke the science down about the nutrition, about BMI and different things. So the same thing about AT. Are there examples that just learned the YouTube and got it clear? Yeah, there are some. Was it easy? Not necessarily, because it again depends. If you want to have an exact period of time, let's say 3 months or 6 months, where you finish in the course, you get in the tools that have been already designed for you. They already been practically implemented and have success rate. So what would be the faster and more effective approach when you are on your own, not knowing the industry inside and the secrets from the
Mhm.
hiring team, and you just watching online, or when you come in and you have in the form product where it's like a roadmap, it's one step after another. You being almost like a sportsman. Every professional team, before they go for the season, what they doing? They condition it, right? And they're not just conditioning by himself. They have a coach, they have a group of people, they have a program, they study their opponents, right? Same like
Mhm.
we doing here, we explaining what recruiters are looking for. We conditioning our students, informing them in the product, so when they graduate, they're ready for the season and ready to play. They've been
Mhm.
practically prepared to get on the job market and to find a job in the most efficient way. Thank you.
What do you think about what do you think about the psychological points of here?
Yeah.
Because, for example, right now in Spin Career, starting from September, going to be like a lot of new content every single day. We're gonna post some reel and YouTube videos, every week, and live sessions like this one gonna happen. So I think that, seems like, yeah, it may take a lot of time, way more time if the person decides to study by him or herself, just watching the free content,
Mm.
even though there is a huge chances that there is some important thing gonna be missing. And always like a contact with some real person gonna help to fill up the gaps. But eventually the person gonna go to the interview, and I think like it really depends a lot of the psychology here, and
Mhm.
I wanted to move our conversation closer to the way you helping right now to our students in spin career, because
Mhm.
this side as well. Like, why do you think the job placement that we provide in Spin Career is needed for the people who just completed the boot camp?
Mhm. Thank you for asking. I think it's crucial. The psychological part is a huge thing. And a lot of people looking at the recruiters like a gatekeepers in a sense. And when they're speaking with a real person who've been a recruiter and explaining to them that's exactly what recruiter is going to be looking for. So our program, it's multiple classes, right? When the people graduate, where we go through LinkedIn preparation, where we prepare the resume, when we breaking down into science the application process on which days, where, and how. In the final part, the grand finale, their legend, in a sense, their story. How would they use their transferable experience from the past and the new experience that they just learned in the job search? And the psychological part that people have this fear that maybe they are not good enough and they do not understand and why this fear
Not ready,
comes.
especially not ready. Not I'm
Yeah,
not ready. I need to
yeah.
learn additional months. I need to revisit the lessons that we have completed. Oh my god, it's like always.
And
And I'm
don't
like,
forget, they
come on,
never
you're ready.
order what they're looking for. So of course, what they hear, what they can only know what they've been exposed to. And when they get this different exposure from a person who've been a hiring manager, who've been a recruiter, and tells them exactly, hey, this is true, this is not true, this is the right way, this is maybe something we need to work on. The problem is you're never going to be ready enough, right? There's always room for improvement for everyone, including you and I. But the difference that separates people who are getting the job and getting the job quickly in a short period of time, it's not that they're not afraid. They're afraid. You cannot grow and be in the comfort zone. It just doesn't happen. You have to push yourself out of the comfort zone. And don't wait for motivation, because the motivation comes with an action. When you start making the strategic, thought through approach and steps, you start seeing the good results. You start seeing that's actually working. Then you get excited because you're starting getting the response and the replies, invitations to the interviews. Then you see that that part happens so quickly. You start learning how to announce yourself, tell me about your story. Then you get in success from the interview and get into the next stages. But people who are not going to even give themselves a chance, you know what problem is between all of the candidates? They are the first people to say no to themselves, not recruiters, not hiring managers, not the bots, not the applicant tracking systems, the people themselves. They didn't even apply to a position. They just open it and be like, oh, I don't know if I can fit. But the job description, it's like a dating website. When people go on any dating website, they try to portray the best version of themselves, right? I'm working out, I go to college, I do X, Y, and Z. But in reality, maybe somewhere else it's inflated, right? Same thing with the job description. It's not a hard requirement. It's a perfect requirement that they wish they could get, but it doesn't mean that necessarily that it's going to be a deal breaker. In
Mhm.
reality, they're going to get a quality person that is coachable, because soft skills is so important and sometimes it's so hard to teach it. It's possible to improve, but it takes an effort. But when you get the person who's eager, who's excited, who is genuine, you're as a human being just willing to give a chance, and take them to the
Sometimes
next.
it's easier to learn the technical things
Yeah,
than the soft, skills.
correct.
I agree with that 100%. I wanted, when we were explaining that, one idea, like one idea came up to me, one thought actually came up to me about the statistics that we are getting, and it's not like I'm having like exact numbers, but I know for a fact, if the person, the student, came by referral, not just found us somehow in Google or through some Instagram, I already know that the chances that this person gonna find that job within like a first month after the completing of the bootcamp is way higher. Why? Because this person psychologically knows that his friend got
Mm-hmm.
the job after
Yeah,
that. Has no this person has no even like
hesitation, right?
yeah, there is no chances I'm
Doubt.
gonna get the job. So if my friend got the job, I'm gonna get the job 100%. So it's not like about the school; it's about me. And this person is ideal student for us. And I think like just sharing more, doing like a more live streams like this one, doing more kind of I don't know, in general, some activity in the internet, showing our expertise would help people just to get rid of that no to themselves. Like everyone
Mhm.
can do that, and there are different programs that we provide, and for as well as for the beginners and more advanced people with different backgrounds. So it's very very cool how I can see that if person came from referral, there's higher chances this person gonna get the job faster. Faster means everything
I came
because
through referral, right?
yeah, you actually came by referral, and many other students came, but it's really really like cool when you see like another person is like, oh, like I cannot, like let's talk about this problems I mentioned at the beginning of the interview of the interview of the stream. So the problem number one, we not getting the enough. We don't have interviews. So the person is like, sometimes students after completing the bootcamp, it works for all the students. Different boot camps, any kind of like you're ready for the interviews, you think, right? So you go
Mhm.
ahead and apply for the jobs, and you don't get the interviews. So what do you think, Maria? What could be the potentially reasons of that? Because it's the very first one. It's with, if everything goes with psychology, of course, a person is
Mhm.
confident, and this person wants to get the job, and he comes to us and say, hey, I don't get interviews. What could be happening? What do you think?
Can be a few things actually. Like I said, it has to be the expectations, right, that are met. If you come into the airport, they have this metal frame where people put in the suitcase, and it's a checked baggage. And if it doesn't
I
fit,
love
it
the
doesn't mean
example.
that
I
the
love it.
baggage is bag, right? The baggage is fine. It just does not fit the requirements. And the same thing with our candidates. They need to understand the requirements that their hiring team is looking for in order to meet it. So it can be different things. First of all, your resume has to fit the requirements. It has to have the technology, the achievements, the transferable skills that maybe you had in the past that can be applicable to the job. If you know that your resume is good and your LinkedIn firmed, in professional way and updated, then you are ready. Because some people are just so eager and they start applying, and I tell them, what's the point of doing, the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? It's not going to happen. So step one, if your resume is fine and your LinkedIn, you are ready, right? So that's it. We can let you fly. Next step is how often and where people applying. If you're gonna have a perfect resume that nobody sees and your LinkedIn is gonna be catching dust, uh, the chances are really slim that you're gonna get a job, because it's called a get a job, right? It's
Yeah,
not
resume could
fine.
be amazing. Could be amazing.
It's a get a job. So when you have all of the tools, but you're the one who's saying no to yourself. The job that I applied was on site in a different city across the state. There was automation, and maybe I would have been just passed if I had a different mindset. I just reached out to hiring manager to learn about him and his team. I asked how's
Hmm.
doing, how was your week, what's so cool about your company that you enjoy? Because I saw the post that this person posted that the company is amazing, the culture. I asked, what is your favorite thing about the culture? What do you like so much? Because I love that post and it caught my attention. And if you reach out to people genuinely that you've noticed something interesting, you're not just shoving the resume in their face, but you have a strategy, right? Because think about the approach what you would prefer. Would you like if somebody would be super transactional, send in the resume, I'm perfect QA, you're not gonna find another one like me. Like, would you like it, or would you want to be starting maybe with a joke, some IT joke in the subject? I don't know. No, it's not a bug, and then your resume and genuine conversation like, hey, what's so different about your company that you are really inspired by working here for so many years? It's gonna change your life and perspective of looking for a job versus doing like a robot same things and hoping that it's gonna be some different results.
Yeah, with this question, I think interviewer would remember you for a
For
long
sure.
time.
I've done
especially
it.
about
I
that.
speak
Yeah,
it from experience.
it's actually great tip. Um, Also, something came to my mind, and then it's I forgot. But you mentioned actually those things that I had in my mind. So it's we're on the same page, I think. This thing, like when I ask the questions to the students, back to the question why I'm not getting the interviews. Actually, there was a stream recently. Like a month ago, we did webinar, the stream, and there was a person I never met this person. He's not a student, but probably he completed some other boot camp, and then we're looking for some new information or looking how to get the job. And his question was like, well, I have like a resume with 3 months of experience, QA experience. I have 1 month of the internship. I have this and that. I don't have interviews. This is common, and there could be like
Yes.
potentially like just two issues. No, the resume is not good. It doesn't fit the expectation from the company, or you don't market your resume. Nobody can see your resume. You don't
Mhm.
apply for the jobs. And actually, I recall what I wanted to say. I wanted to show whoever gonna watch this to understand that it's possible to market yourself without applying to the jobs.
Mhm.
When and how does it work? For example, for me, I'm not applying for the jobs. If I decide to change the company
Mhm.
or get a job in some company, I don't have to market that because I get in the requests in my LinkedIn. I have so many
Mhm.
years in different companies,
Yeah.
and recruiters eventually, fighting for to get this
Reaching out.
change. Yeah, that's what happens. Ideally, when you have a lot of experience and you can confidently explain about that experience and continuously learning in that industry, then that's of course going to work. However, for beginners, that's the reality. You have to apply, you have to market, you have to create the your accounts in the different platforms, so it's visible, so there is no way you get the interview.
I
The first
think
very step into get the interview.
you got a
It's
good point because everyone, actually, even the beginner who just graduated from the bootcamp, can get this passive job search in a sense. Actively, it's when you are applying and getting out there. Passive approach when you're being strategic. How to do it? There's plenty of IT groups on the Meetup a platform, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Find a local IT group, and that's something that actually some people who know me, I try to go at least once a month or even twice a month to a networking event to just
Mhm.
connect with people, to put my name in the face out there, or another good approach, become somebody's reference. You're going to be surprised if you are as the reference posted on somebody's resume, or somebody just gave you a number because someone else is applying for the job search. The recruiters are going to be calling you and asking the questions about, tell me about the time when you work with this person. How can you describe? And by answering those questions, you, in a sense, completing the short screening call. Last week, I had two calls. One was through the video, and another was one on the phone. I got two people. One of them was hiring manager, another one was the recruiter. That both say they want to work with me, and if I'm going to be on the market, I just need to shoot them a message. So this is a good way. You're doing something good for your counterpart or colleague student, but you're showing them how much you're a team player, how genuine you are, explain about someone else, and also go and meet people, put the name for the face, talk to people about interests, what you do on the side, maybe you have a project. And that's also bringing the people. Like I've got, I don't know, every time I go, at least 10, 15 connections that I want to stay in touch, that want to meet up and potentially like, hey, I would love to work with you. I really enjoyed the conversation. So those two things are crucial, but people sometimes don't take it really seriously.
hmm That's excellent. That's thank you for that's a great, very great advice. I think because the networking is everything. Of course, through LinkedIn you kind of like connected, but the personal connection, like
Yes.
meet person and meet the person in person in person. It's a way better. I have a question, a comment from ML 47777. Currently practicing some coding and Selenium to refresh my knowledge. I would like to know what are my chances of getting a QA job in my situation. This is like a great
I mean, it's a good
question,
question.
but at the same time, like it's impossible to give you some good advice without having enough information, and
I think I can give some. What
oh,
is going to be
go ahead.
a lot of people thinking that when they just study, it's enough to pass the interview and forget that interviewing skill, it's a skill, just like practicing coding and Selenium. So aside from having actual knowledge and industry experience and the tools, we also need to take into consideration and account that we need to practice our interviewing skills. Almost no one, there's a few people who've been nature born public speakers. Most of us, like me, have to make its way out and practice and practice and practice until it gets better. And the skill, it's important to do some coding and practice that and do Selenium, but at the same time, do a time management in your day and set the same amount of time that you do for coding in Selenium, the same amount of time for practicing the interviewing skills. Recording yourself, we provide the list of questions in our bootcamp that the students can practice. It's already tailored to a market demand that you can use if you're a student. If you're not a student, you can come up with your own questions or you can find them online and you will be starting practicing those questions. You will start recording yourself, audio or video. You can share with the people in your network and just ask for honest feedback. Hey, how do I sound? Would you hire me? What can I improve? And that's something that I took seriously. And I think for even question, tell me about yourself, I recorded like 50 times. But it
Oh
was
wow.
better even for me just looking and seeing how long I was doing it, body posture, pauses, the speed of speech, that all made difference when I was in the real interview. I wasn't nervous. I felt like I already knew what to expect. Thank you, Amal, and good luck.
Yeah, Amal, actually, the reason why I said it's impossible, like, to help you right away, because it's I'll need to know what was your background, what are the challenges. So if you really like serious about changing the career or getting the IT job as a QA tester, again, I see that you mentioned that you used to work as software engineer analyst in 2016. It's been a while actually. So just open our website, spincareer.com, and then you will see a button, try for free, and select, I don't know what option is the best for me, or select automation QA because you mentioned Selenium. And just schedule a time for the consultation. Me or Maria are going to be able to help you and give you some good advice based on the story you have. And anyone who's watching this video or right now during the live, you guys can schedule like a free 10-15 minutes consultation, and we'll do our best to give you good advice and help you with whenever you guys are looking for. There are not that many things left, I think. I have these topics in the list we have prepared with Maria. First interview tips, the time need to get the job. Okay, so let's finish. I want to cover the topic eventually. Be more like I want to give as much value to the people who are looking for the job or who are thinking about that.
Mhm.
So the first problem we discussed with you. The second problem I think is a bigger topic, but still let's cover at least like briefly that topic. Like whenever they have people are different. We're all different, right? Whenever you got the interview, you cannot get a job, right? You passed 1 2 3. I know one of my friend, 4 years ago, when I was thinking about the school, and I was getting the feedback about how everyone is doing with the job search. I met a person who actually completed another school, and this person told me that he been looking for the job for a year. He has failed, and I asked, like, oh, do you have interviews? He said, yeah, I do. Okay, good. So what the problem? He said, the problem is I'm not getting the job offer. I'm saying, okay, how many interviews have you done? And he said, it's been already over 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over 100 interviews.
I think this
So,
person's really resilient. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
And eventually he got the job. I know he'd been working like a year already, but it was 4 years ago. So
makes
it's
sense.
very resilient. Uh,
Oh,
what do you think?
this person.
What could be the challenges for that? For not for this person, but in general, on average, for the students not getting the job offer.
Okay, that's a good question because it depends on what do you want, what the outcome is what you're looking for, right? If you have a bandera, would you rather just to rip the bandera and be quick and get over with, or would you be slowly ripping it little by little until it's making you just go crazy? I think the one of the biggest feedback that this person would have gotten from hundreds of interviews, ask how did I do you have any feedback for me? Because the feedback is the breakfast for champions. If you do not know what to ask, how can you know what to improve? You've
Yeah.
had 100 opportunities, so obviously they saw something in you or in that person that was potentially qualified, but something along the lines maybe did not align with the expectations. And by not asking, how did I do, or what do you have any hesitation or reservation about me as a candidate for this role? Like those value-based probing questions would have helped him tremendously because maybe it was the approach, maybe it was the examples that this person brought. Maybe it was no questions asking then, but we can only guess at this point. But if
Mhm.
anyone at the path today looking for a job, the questions, not the answers that we give, but the question that we ask along the way, before, during, and after the interview, this is the deal breaker. This is either make it or break it part that people underestimate because they're so focused on getting the perfect answer. They're rehearsing it over and over, but they don't even think that they allowed to ask the question. But nobody stops them.
Mhm.
Nobody's thinking
Mhm.
they can't. In that approach, you ask how long it's going to take. I think it should take, not how long it can take, should take 4 weeks to a month, from 4 to 6 weeks to find a job. But if you're looking, so let's say I give you, you are Alex potentially, right? A candidate that just graduated. You're ready, you have the knowledge, you're nervous, but okay, let's do it. And every day, first thing in the morning, you're applying for the positions with the resume that you actually took time and invested and updated to tailor your experience. You went through your LinkedIn, you fix the settings, and your LinkedIn is interesting to read and encourages person to reach out to you. And you're doing it daily because it's compound effect. It's not going to be an instant result where people just bringing your phone up, and you're getting calls nonstop. No, it's going to be a compound effect where maybe 80% it's going to take some time for you to get any responses. But then every time you're going to put more effort, and it's going to be only 20% of your effort to get 80% of the calls because your resume has been out there, the recruiter got the right opportunity, you conditioned, right? You got to a point where now you can speak, negotiate, schedule, and go through the process. But people get caught up in small roadblocks and they give up easily, and they forget the main thing. Why did they start it? They always need to keep in mind, why did they make a decision to go through the schooling? Why
Mhm.
did they make a decision to become a QA? When they don't see this end goal, they get caught up in their thoughts, in the emotions or feedback from the loved ones, and that sometimes is not as constructive. And then they just give up easily. But they need to remember, why did you start? What perspective do you have in 5 years if you just give up? And to do every day 1% better, not just in one day to do everything that you haven't done in 2 months. If you're going to do 1% better every day, it's going to be 365% in the end of the year, right? But you're doing it consistently, you put in efforts. So if that intentional approach is taken a month, I can guarantee you, I can assure that the person will get the interviews, if not the offer, but will get a consistent flow of interviews. And then you can work through and understand what the points to refine and update and improve. But a lot of people just don't put as much efforts and then surprised why there is no results.
I agree. I actually have a very kind of maybe interesting story for how was the very first interview happened to me
Okay.
when I was like maybe 20 something years old. I went to a huge company. Actually, before that, I read like a huge book.
Okay.
Strauss Troop was the author, and it was C++. So I was looking for the. Oh, I see Lilia is writing for both speakers. I amazing, very useful information. Yeah.
Thank
So the thank you, Lilia. So I was saying that I learned, like I was trying to learn coding, programming for myself without. I had actually some friends who were actually experts in programming, so I was keep asking questions to themselves, what to do, how to learn. They actually didn't work in the companies, but even though there were a few guys who were working in the companies, I didn't know what to ask. That was like my, I was completely zero, and I was reading the book. I didn't like. I was trying to find that basement to get started with that, and then I read, I think, half of the book. There was a subject like references. Oh my god, it was the toughest thing. I still don't like. I have an idea what is that, how this works. I have a friend, very good friend who do C++. I have to ask him about that more
you.
to fill up
Yeah,
this gap, but I
conversation
don't need
starts,
that.
right?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep out from the information I don't need
Yeah.
because I already have a lot. But that was very stressful, to learn all these things by myself. And then eventually, I think I stopped after these references and understanding that I don't understand. It's really like my head isn't working in a way. Just I don't understand the topics. I'm reading that code. It doesn't make sense at all. So at that point, I understand, okay, I gotta have to do something. I have to get the first interview. So I don't know how. I don't remember how I found this company. It's a top one company. Like I think it's a top one company in Ukraine. And I went to the interview, and I was like impressed with the, like, a building was amazing, like in the center of the city. It's a capital, Kiev, and I was like, wow, it's so cool. And I was like a very young and ambitious person trying
You're
to get.
so
Yeah, it was so funny for me to remember and, recalling right now. And so I end up being I met the person like maybe recruiter. So very nice lady, met me, and she gave me like direction going to that some room. And the room had no windows, just a
wow.
white room, a lot of
Almost
light.
interrogation, Mama.
Yeah, I was like a bit in shock. I had a few, like I had my notes with some things I read from this book, but I didn't. That was useless by the end of the day. So they asked me so many questions. They realized I'm like a beginner. They realized, and the guys were understanding. They started asking me questions. They started from like a very simple things I could maybe answer the first two questions. The remaining questions, what I did, there was no advice. There was no Maria with this amazing advice, but
Yeah.
I somehow figured it out, like doing that. I got the guys were saying, "Hey, Alex, maybe you should make a notes that is missing." I was like, "Okay," and my notes were like hundreds of things I need to know. But I read such a book. It's a huge book. Maybe Amal, maybe Amal is already like left the stream, but even though if he's still here, like learning just a tool or a coding or things like that, it could be not enough because there are like other libraries you have to know for coding, like a testing JUnit, a Lua report, and Jenkins, and a lot of other things you need to know to get the job. You need to have a complex. And these guys interviewing me, they were giving me, okay, Alex, write it down. And I was writing about too
You're like
much.
tired of writing laundry
Yeah,
list.
yeah, the list, the notes, I had too many. And that was a very stressful. After that, I felt like, okay, I spent my like 6 months of reading that crazy book for nothing. But that time I got a lot of understanding. I understood, okay, I'm not gonna do coding anymore. It's not my thing. That's what I thought. It's not like it didn't encourage me, to be honest with you. There was nobody who would support me. Hey, Alex, the next one gonna be better. No, there was no boot camp that no someone would recommend me. So I think there was like another year I haven't done anything. That
Wow.
was yeah. So until I like one
It's
of the
rockstar
friends.
experience. You're so excited about the beautiful building and you see yourself working
Yeah.
there. It's,
Yeah, and the salary was crazy. But I was like, wow, the salary is like so huge. And for me, it
what I'm
was,
gonna do with all this money?
yeah, for me, I was like, wow, I wasn't married that time. So I was just by myself. And if I would get that salary, I don't know, maybe it's good that I haven't got that job.
Good. Everything happens in the right time. I hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't know, Maria. You have anything else to add? I think we
I think
got
your
the whole
story had an
story and
important point that maybe I think you've learned now for yourself. And I think I had to learn hard way when I got no in some interviews or potentially didn't get the offer. Everyone who's looking for the job, you need to remember that you need to be a biggest champion for yourself, the biggest supporter, the biggest cheerleader. It's going to be a lot of people who potentially don't see the light or value in yourself, but you don't have to doubt yourself. You have to just keep encouraging yourself every day. And every day, even the negative feedback, or maybe potentially not going through the interview and the process was just stopped in a certain stage, you need to remember that you already did something more and you're a little bit better than you were yesterday, and just keep trying and learning, refining. So the practice makes perfect by adding that kind approach to yourself, believing in yourself, and just being that encourager. It's gonna make wonders. The job search is gonna be not a draining process. It's gonna be a strategic and diligent approach because you're doing something better for yourself and for your family. But thank you for having me. I enjoyed the conversation, Alex, and I hope you're
cool.
able
We'll
to
talk
share
more.
something helpful.
Sounds good. Thank you, Maria, as well, guys. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to subscribe for the YouTube channel. So we're always gonna post more and more free content like this one. Stay tuned, and thanks, Maria. Have an amazing
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, Alex. Happy
Yeah.
upcoming holidays. Bye,
Oh,
everyone.
bye
Thank you.
bye.
It's been a pleasure. Bye bye.